Bomb has been planted. Bomb has been planted.
Welcome back, everybody, to DreamHack Tour 2016, functioning as the European minor, where the top 2 teams will be qualifying for the offline qualifier for ESL 1 Cologne 2016. We just saw Orbit face off against HR. HR lost, Orbit moved on. Our first people in the upper bracket final, and we are now about to see Dignitas versus Ence to see who will go on to play those 2 teams in the upper bracket and lower bracket finals. It's going to be good, it's going to be exciting. Launders, Metas, welcome back to the desk. How are you guys doing today?
Doing well, doing well. Had to iron my shirt in the hallway.
Yes, please tell the story, please do.
So Joey decided that he hates Europe, and he wants the whole room to have a power surge. So he plugs.
We should probably point out that that's not a quote. Let's not have that as a quote for Joey. He has never once said that in his life, but it's
He's smiling right now.
It's a figure of speech from Launders. Please continue.
Anyways, split all the power in the room, and I had to iron my clothes on the floor of the hallway.
Okay. And how are you pleased with the results of your labor?
No, not really.
No. Please.
I'd appreciate if you don't look at my shirt.
Put in the Twitch chat whether you think it's been ironed or not ironed, or a score out of 10.
+1 for iron.
+1, yeah. There we go. Anyway, should we talk about the Counter-Strike? I think we should. Metas, what do you think about the... Well, actually, firstly, did you manage to catch the previous match, HR Orbit?
Yeah, I caught the majority of the game. The last map, I thought it would go to 3 maps. I'd never thought that Orbit would take it 2-0. That was a massive surprise for me. I would have gone for Hellraiser to take the whole thing. I think most people would have, although Mystic Pala did call it 2-0.
Mystic Pala.
So,
yeah, apparently I have some clairvoyancy.
Would you like to tell me the lottery numbers next week? Because I could do
maybe,
it with
off camera, because then otherwise we'll
right.
have to split it with tens of thousands of people.
But yeah, Hellraiser's crumbled as they did at Sevo as well. You know, they struggled to close out there. I thought they'd go a lot further. Obviously, we got Pimp here from SK, we got through to the finals, which was awesome stuff. But yeah, Hellraisers just didn't show up, and Orbit have really surprised me, pleasantly surprised me. They look solid.
Yeah, and Pimp, would you like to give some initial thoughts on the upcoming match, Dignitas Ence?
Yeah, obviously it's my old team, Dignitas.
Yes, and
old team.
And
they're playing against Ence. Unfortunately, Ence are without Stunde, who had some medical conditions that made him not being available here. I think that's a shame for the matchups, because I really do think Ence is a great team. I think they've progressed a lot lately. Dignitas, not so much, actually. They started out really, really well, and they were playing really, really well in the beginning, but lately they've been a shadow of themselves. So I think this matchup is much closer than you initially would think of it. The fact that Stunde is not here is playing a huge favor into Dignitas' hands, I believe. And I do think it, again, will be a close game, as I thought of Orbit and Hellraisers, but again, I do believe that my old teammates from Dignitas will take this game. They should. Ence are playing with a stand-in. They only got to know 2 days before they traveled here, so they didn't have a lot of time to figure that out. So a huge favor into Dignitas' hands, I believe.
Even though Zonda can't be here, it seems that Nasu is playing quite well. He's been performing like a decent level. I don't feel it's dragging the team down. What do you think, Launders?
I mean, it's hard to say from the outside, right, whether or not he's dragging the team down, quote unquote. I mean, he knows, like, he's friends with the team. He just comes in and does the role that they kind of put him to do on the spot. And he either, holds a site or gets an entry, and everything that he gets is kind of bonus to what the rest of his team is trying to do as a unit. But I was curious what you thought. Do you practice against Ence? Can
we get into this just short? Just because we've got the graphic on screen about Dignitas. And so yeah, if you do not know the squad, we've got Tensky, Config, MSL Kiebi, who is kind of the star player at the moment, and then the steadfast Rubino down there at the bottom. They're doing pretty well. Kind of considered a top 10 team still in some circles. I think maybe still there on the rankings on HLTV. And overall, they've been on the rise a bit, but maybe plateaued slightly now. Please feel free to go back to your point.
Yeah, I guess we could start with Dignitas then. I was curious what you thought about who is really good on this team. In my opinion, Rubino is the most solid player here. I really trust him in 1v1s. I don't know what it was like for you, your experience playing with them, what you thought.
Yeah, Rubino was one of the guys who replaced me, so I never had the chance to play with him. But I kind of feel that he went in and took over my role, a part of my role. I often ended up in clutch situations, as Rubino does now. And as you said, he's very solid in those situations. He wins a lot of 1-on-2s, 1-on-1s, 1-on-3s even. And the way Dignitas plays is all built around Kirby and Config in the beginning of the rounds. And then it's built into Rubino closing out the rounds if needed. And as you said, he's really good at closing out rounds, and that's a part of why Dignitas were so good in the beginning, because both Config and Kirby were hitting their shots and were opening up their rounds against like all kinds of teams, both like likes of Fnatic and Envious and also less good teams. And then they always had Rubino if needed in the backhands. And I still feel that it's the same way they play now, but as of lately they haven't been that good to like how to say enable Rubino's abilities late in the round. So it's going to be interesting to see how Dignitas will play against Ence today.
Let's take a look at the Ence squad on screen. We'll have a graphic for them. We've got Arlu, of course, Yuho, Zarte, Sunny, and Nasu, who is the stand-in, Lerp's brother, and also a well-known player in his own right. And he's standing in for Zarte. Guys, Ence, at this point in the competition, how good of a chance they have to reach the top 2?
I don't know what you think, but in my opinion, like, there's a lot of great things to be said about Ence and the way they played. Even when they were losing, they were kind of losing gracefully in the sense that they made a lot of sensible decisions. They were saving in a lot of 2v2 retakes that they know they didn't have a chance in, right? So economically, you know, they're going to make sound choices, and I feel very comfortable when I watch them play that they're not going to do anything stupid or individualistic. So it seems like, you know, maybe they don't complete rounds because they don't get a lot of the trades. Like, there was a 4v4 retake that they had yesterday where each one of them, you know, lost their duel by 20 HP or something like that. And that was kind of why they had such a lopsided scoreline, why they only got like 5 or 6 rounds on that map. But apart from that, it seems like if a team makes mistakes versus them, they'll always capitalize, and the other team is going to have to be incredibly on point to take advantage of them.
Part of me wishes that we could still have Nato. Maybe we can sort out having Nato on the desk at some point during this segment, or maybe he will be sweating out the match too intensely. It would be nice because he was very much getting into it, yes, and doing a great cast at the same time, to his credit.
I'm pretty sure
whilst his team were playing.
I'm pretty sure he's very happy not to be casted.
Yes, I know.
It was a roller coaster of emotion. Sat next to him, he was so animated all the time. So I'm sure he's kind of happy, just sat off there on the couch, just enjoying.
Yeah. Well, this is presumably going to be a harder matchup for them. Can we go into maybe how this game is going to pan out? I think maybe Dignitas have a slight advantage, but with the way Ence are playing, they could do it. Stand-in issues, as you guys have mentioned. What are your thoughts?
I think that, as you said rightfully, that Ence is a team that capitalizes of their opponents making mistakes. Thing is, Dignitas don't make a lot of mistakes. They are also a team that really relies a lot on team play. The thing that could play into Ence's favor is if Ence were to get a good start. I have the sense that Dignitas have the players like Config and Kirby, and they know that they're probably better than everyone on the server. So if they get into a pressure situation, they maybe could like move a little away from that team-based, team play biased game that Dignitas have, and maybe starting to do something individual. And that's where Ence like should be ready and should punish them for doing so. When these players got to like avoid from the system that MSL built up, and that's a possibility if Ence were to get a good start in this game.
What's the mentality if you've ever played with a stand-in in a big match? Is the mentality a losing mentality? Like we take what we can get. You know, do you manage expectations? Do you feel like if we don't win this, it's not a big deal? And does that affect how your chances of actually being able to do it, even if you have the firepower to?
Yeah, it's kind of hard. We went into this tournament with a stand-in as well. Kadian played with us because of Freeze couldn't be here, and we kind of went in with the mentality that even though that Freeze weren't here, we still believed that we could win. We still believed that we were the better team than everyone in our group, and that's the mentality we had. And I believe that most teams will just get the best out of the situation they have. And Nasu playing with Ence have probably added some more experience into the team and some more calmness. That's what I sense out from watching them. Where maybe having Stunde is a more explosive player that could go off in a map and could potentially win a map all by his own, but then again could maybe be the fact that they were to lose a close match because he's inexperienced. So there's always pros and cons, and it's hard to weigh it up in a sense. You can pretty much only see it by when the play has been played.
Definitely, it could be a lot different if Stonda was here. Anyway, we have the map veto up on screen right now. Ence have banned Overpass, Dignitas then banned Dust 2, and the first pick is Train on Ence's side.
Now, Ence played against Godsent yesterday on Train. It was Godsent's choice, I believe, and they won 16-6.
Yes, they did.
So they were very powerful. Yesterday had a phenomenal CT side. Nasu was playing pretty solidly as well. Obviously, the stand-in had a bit of a rough performance later on in the best of 3. I think he dropped to 1 for 14 or something on Cash. So I'll be curious to see if we see Cash come up later in the third map. But Cobblestone second pick makes a lot of sense. Dignitas, a very strong Cobblestone team, although SK wrecked them at CEVO. I think it was, what, 16-3, Pim?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, absolutely destroyed them, which I was really surprised by. So let's see what third map is.
Yeah, saying that the score against Orbit on Cobble was 16-13, and I mean, actually, I don't know at this point in the competition who's maybe performing better, Orbit or Ence, but I think it would definitely suit them better in this situation, Dignitas. And Ence, well, no, now it's a Mirage, a third map Mirage, which we've seen quite a bit of in this tournament. What do you think of that, Launders?
That's just really nice for Dignitas. I mean, that's just if that's the fallback map, like that's a really good place for them to be in. Like, they're
Definitely. Like the first map, I actually say favors Ence. Like Dignitas is notoriously not a good train team, and they don't like playing train. They've been playing it for a while now, but they don't play it against top-tier teams. That's also always one of the first or the second ban they use against good teams. So they won't feel comfortable going into train against Ence, that's for sure.
And just to interject, it's actually Dignitas have been practicing train as well, right?
Yeah, Dignitas have as well. Yeah. But they don't feel comfortable on playing train at all.
Is this more insider information? It definitely is, isn't it?
This
is why it's great to have a player on the desk, though, because you get a genuine insight about what's going on, and you get the opinion of the people who are actually playing, and so it's much appreciated what you're bringing to the table.
Sure. But again, then Couple is Dignitas' home map, were for a while. It was the map they almost beat Fnatic on at ESL Barcelona, I think, where they make their breakthrough and really make their breakthrough into top 10, basically. And then they have Mirage to fall back on. A map that they played in the qualifier for this tournament, actually. And I think it was a close game, 16-12 for Dignitas, but it was actually a game where Ence were leading 10-5 at halftime. So Ence showed that they can put up a fight against Dignitas on Mirage. So if it goes to a third map, which I do believe it does, with Train being the first pick, it could be a close game.
Okay, we've got about a minute left, guys, before we have to jump into this game. So can I push you all for some predictions?
Yes, I'm going to say 2-1 for Team Dignitas. They're going to win Mirage close. That's
okay. Launders?
I'm going to say 2-0 for Dignitas. I think Ence, they had, I think they got lucky on train yesterday, and they won't be able to pull it off versus Dignitas again. Yeah.
Okay, and Metas?
Going to go 2-1, although I think Ence could potentially upset here. Won Mirage twice against Godsent. Both of them were very close, but I think if Dig don't show up, they're notorious for having mental blocks from time to time. I'm going to stick with Dig, though. I think it's going to 2-1.
I would agree. I think there's that small chance that well, not a small chance. I definitely don't want to say small chance when I'm the owner, but I think there's that chance that Ence could take it. But for me, it's most likely going to be Dignitas. I'll put a score on it as well, 2-0, but it could go either way. And we are ready to get into the game. Thank you guys for your input. I will speak to you all after the game. Enjoy the cast. We are about to head into Dignitas versus Ence.
All right, then, Launders, here we go. I think this could be one of the best games of the day, in fairness, so it's going to be very, very close. You went 2-0 Dignitas, but you did kind of highlight that it could go back and forth.
Yeah, I'm going to learn a lot about Train, like, as they play it right now. I think Ence played it yesterday, and they didn't want to, and then they ended up playing well. I don't think that's, like, a good basis, a strong foundation for picking the map. You know, it's kind of like chain logic. Oh, we won on Train, therefore we're going to beat everyone on Train. Yeah. And Dignitas is going to be a much tougher opponent, I feel like, than Godsent, where a team that's been together a lot longer, maybe in terms of talent, are on even footing, but overall, because Dignitas have had so much synergy, so much time to build that chemistry, that they're going to feel pretty good.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And the thing is with yesterday as well, Ence didn't really get tested on their T side that much. They had such a strong CT side. They won 10-5, I believe, and then went through on the pistol, won the pistol in the subsequent rounds. So they were like 13-5 ahead. And then converted the 16-6 victory. So yeah, I'm not too sure what to take from that. Obviously, the T side against Dignitas, you assume Dignitas are going to be solid on their CT side. Not too sure what to make of that, but either way, you have to start off solidly here against Dig, otherwise this could get out of control, because they're a confidence-based team. If they start well, they typically finish well.
Yeah, that's a good point. We do see them go on tilt all the time, and it will matter if they get a good start quickly, or if they just fall short and then have to work back from a deficit.
So here we go, into the first pistol. We'll see Ence on the CT side. It's going to be Ali who breaks the deadlock. Will be lifting the first kill for his team. And Nasu, who will be playing on the B side time and time again, lands himself the one tap onto Tensky. Very nice start from the Finns. But the bomb is going to get planted, as you'd expect in pistol rounds. Very easy for the T's to get this locked down. Ali with a second. That leaves Config and Kia B, and I definitely don't envy their position.
No, yeah. 2v4 right now. Kirby's going to get this flank kill. This is a huge one. This could make it 2v3.
Well, indeed it will do. The problem, though, is that the CTs have scurried onto the site. So it's going to be a rough ask for Dignitas. It's kind of position you'd love to have a molly in, but of course, with the pistol round, it's not going to happen. The next kill comes to fruition, and the headshot from Zate finishes things off nicely as the bomb is defused. So Ence will start with a 1-0 lead.
Yeah, if you can see from Zarte, he actually had to decide whether or not he was going to continue watching upper or whether he was going to switch to the lower flank, and he had to make a decision. You know, it's a 50-50. If you know that two people are up there, they either come back down the ramp or they double stack upper, and he had the right read. So overall, it comes down to those small reads and hitting your shots on the entries and on the pistol, and we saw that Ence did a really good job of mitigating the damage before the bomb went down and made that retake a lot easier for themselves.
Definitely. 3 UMPs now in play for Ence, so very heavy SMG commitment. The first kill has gone down. It's going to be Alu. That HE's not going to land really on anybody. There's a player scurrying into an aggressive position. Alu with a second kill. Here comes Nasu for a double of his own. And the round will be slipping away from Dignitas. But another bomb plant. So it's 2 bomb plants in a row. They didn't go for the force buy. We are going to have a solid AK buy up now, round 3.
Yeah, they're going to have the op if they want it, and if they don't, they're just going to have so much money for grenades, if that's what they desire. It's really good on them recognizing, and I feel like going inner to plant the bomb is very overpowered. Most of the teams won't commit 2 people close up inner because it's very retakeable, so a lot of the times you can catch someone playing at Z on top of the train or back just watching the cross and then just calling for rotates. And instead of actually stacking the inner site, risking getting 2 people killed, giving up guns that close to the bomb plant zone, and then having the bomb go down and risk losing the round, they recognize that a lot of people are... It's very common to play retake on B.
Oh, for sure, as it is such an easy site to plant on. But Alu, who had a bit of a hit-and-miss game yesterday, quite literally, is going to get the first kill. He missed a lot of very simple shots, but there's the second one, as Dig are pushing out, just with a flashbang and a smoke pretty much to try and subside this CT prowess. Oh, Alu with a 3rd kill, going through the smoke. Great start from Ence, going to shut down this rifle round with ruthless precision.
I saw this really interesting stat about Fallen, and that was that he's one of the top oppers that moves the least of any other opper when in a round. And Alu's also one of those players, right? Yep. He's very patient, and you can tell he moves very slowly, and it seems like he doesn't rely on reaction time, even though he's very fast. He simply puts himself in a good position, knows when a kill is going to come, takes 1 shot, and usually comes out with a good result. And we saw him just get 3 or 4 very quiet kills there that made a huge impact.
Yeah, very much like a turret AWPer, as you say. They don't really move a great deal, but they have that pixel-perfect aim, especially in the case of Fall, and he's also very good at clutching when he is required to move. Jack of all trades. But Dignitas now, reeling after that lost rifle round, have themselves 4 Deagles with a P250 and nothing else, no grenades to use. So it's going to be all down to these 1-taps, you've got to feel. And, well, Alu has a couple 1-taps of his own. AWP shot goes off onto Tensky.
We saw from Alu, it was like a big problem, right? He was missing a lot. And that's going to haunt them if they aren't able to utilize him on train, and if he misses some of the shots that he does. Oh, that's a nice 1D from Config. No potential for the bomb to go down quite yet, though.
That's exactly what I was about to say. He's got the kill. He'd love to get that bomb planted, but it was dropped towards the other side, so there's no chance for him. And, well, I said, Ence, it's important they start solidly. They've done just that. They had a very solid CT side yesterday, and they seem to be carrying forward that form here.
Yeah, that's true. And again, the good start is really required in a series where one team is regarded as the underdog. We see that for Ence, so they're kind of they're going through the motions right now, and Dignitas have to kind of prove themselves in a T-side round. That first round, we just had to focus on Alu and how much impact he had, but they really didn't do a good job of flashing him out, right? Alu was able to see throughout, and I think that's
the pause.
We have, yeah.
I assume that's a technical problem. You're not going to pause at this kind of stage of the game.
Yeah, and for some reason the money is reset.
Yeah,
from what we could see.
So hopefully we'll get confirmation as to what's going on at the moment. But it was 4-0 before the reset, with Dignitas in a buy round, as they just gone for pretty much, I was going to say a deco, but they had 4 Deagles and a P250. I guess we can say it's a bit of a cheap deco.
So I think one of the most salient points right now is that Alu was able to play back of hell, and he was able to stay there unblind for the entire round to just get 4 kills and made it look easy, right? Because he had no pressure put on him. There, you know, ideally if you're running outside or you're trying to do a three-way split like T-Con, ladder, and Ivy, you need to have flashes raining over as players are coming out, even when they're on the site. And that would have made Alu's job a lot harder, allow the riflers on the other team to not have to just get, you know, a picture taken of them by the opper and just get eliminated from the round. So ultimately, they throw. You know what was really missing there? It's very common to run out T-Con and then throw Molly down to the end of hell, and we didn't see that. That would have neutralized his position completely. Would have changed up how your ability to come out of T-Con and where you could have ran to hell from. So there were a lot of small changes that they could have made that would have made a huge difference.
Oh, for sure, and they'll be thinking about this in this this technical pause, that's for sure. Still very early days, best of 3, of course. Winner of this will face off against Orbit, which I think a lot of people would have been surprised by. They're not a bad team by any stretch of the imagination, but to get through to the stages they have is very impressive indeed. But here we go, we are live into the action again, round number 5, and Dignitas full AKs again, opting to go without the AWP. Maybe suggests we're going to see a set play.
Yeah, there's potential for that. Mobility is at an all-time high right now.
Up in the hands of Alu, who has been doing a pretty solid job thus far on the CT side. He hasn't had to make any decisions just yet, as it's more of a passive play from Dignitas. They're just trying to feel their way through Ivy, exchanging bullets, although they have came out worse for wear. Config down to about 46. So that's going to hurt Dig's aggression just for now. Config setting up for the smoke. And it would seem that at this point, Dignitas definitely respecting Ence. Very slow aggression, not going to be peeking out too far. Certainly with the Molotov in Pop Dogs, going to stop any fast play from Dignitas in the next few moments, but there's still enough utility on both sides to make a go of this round. Alu again locking down, looking into T main, where a couple of Ts are residing, one of which is MSL. He bursts out. 2 kills now for Dignitas. Config's gone down, but 3 answered back from the Finns. Ence looking good to take the 5-0 potentially. Dignitas forced to push themselves in. Config lands the headshot. He was one of the players that suffered in the early stages of this round. He's been finally put out of his misery. Alu and Nasu, all that remain, but it's against Kirby, and he's connected the first shot. He'll be looking for a second one. Nasu's given his position away, and Kirby lands the 1-tap from T main. Very nicely done.
It's kind of precarious for both players in the 1v1 situation, especially with the trains. You have so many ways to play the 1v1 differently. Sometimes you want to take the fight right away because the other person might assume that you're going to take your time and move around. Instead, they both decided that, yeah, we're going to take this aim duel and we're both going to win it. And that's why it went the way of Dignitas. Now, that really works out in the favor of the Terrorists in a big way. Ence lost 5 players that round. Dignitas were able to keep 1 alive. And so it's tough for them in terms of economy, but overall, putting a round on the board is good in any respect on the T side. So a couple of things, though. They did a much better job with the smokes. Alu did a really good job of staying alive as long as he did. And in fact, if he stayed alive a little longer, they probably would have won the round. Oh.
Nice, who's played this position a lot over the last couple of days. Been put down, and again, the aggression of Dignitas is at least good enough to push through onto the site. But we've seen Ence yesterday, on Mirage in particular, had so many retakes against Godsend. That's won them the match straight up. You hope the next player to come in. And it's looking like deja vu for Ence. HE is the next to go in as Config eats a lot of damage once again. Zarte's going to be going right over the top of him. He doesn't hear this. Config's playing this to perfection. First kill goes down. Can't transfer the spray in time, but both of Ence's members very low, sub 20 HP apiece. And with the bomb planted, Tensky will be fancying his chances. He doesn't have a molly though. And the bomb has been tickled. First kill comes down, and Alu's in the middle of nowhere. So this round is going to get conceded from the Finns, and Dignitas will take a second.
It might have looked like what was Alu doing, but he actually had a very far line of sight to upper, so he was basically trying to hold that down, and they had to take a risk because both of them being on 20 HP means that you cannot commit to a very standard after plant situation, right? Both of you are 1-tap distance, so just because you have 2 players to watch 2 angles doesn't mean either of you are going to win your fight, meaning you have to gamble on something, and Alu noticed that he's got the op, he's lacking mobility. If he gets caught running, that would be a horrible mistake, so instead he decided, let's gamble on watching upper, and hopefully he comes there.
Yeah, you have to roll the dice sometimes, especially when you're so vulnerable on HP. Didn't quite work for them, they got Snake Eyes instead, and now, finally, that economy has been somewhat busted from Ence. They still have an AWP in play, and with the first kill going the way of Ence, and to be fair, the subsequent kills as well, they're looking to actually upset in this round, as Dignitas just have Kirby, he's fallen down from Alu. And in a round that you thought Ence had no right to win, they took down for themselves.
They really shouldn't have won that round. And I think we saw one thing was that with the very dominant first rifle round was a round where they decided to split outside pretty quickly. And they did the exact same thing, and without and by lacking utility, they put themselves in very vulnerable positions where if the first guy goes down, the entire unit is at risk. And I think if they simply went and used their economic advantage, throw a couple of smokes, or had better running flashes and Molotovs, it would have been much easier to make sure they at least traded the kills that they lost.
Goes to show the importance again of saving one weapon as well. Alu landed a couple of shots in that round that were massive impact kills, definitely turning it on its head. And once the M4 went across to Ence, well, there's only one winner. Dignitas now have themselves Kevlar with Tech-9s and P250s. They've got a Molotov and a couple of flashbangs to play with. Alu with a no-scope onto Dignitas, who look to push him. Rubino will be biting the dust. Meanwhile, though, it has been a fake as the rest of Dignitas push on to B. It's going to be the bomb plant, but with so much utility still left, it's going to be rough for them to hold on to. So many flashes and a couple of smokes as well thrown into the mix. Nasu steps up to the plate, spray down, just about gets the kill. That fact is actually Sunny, who played phenomenally well on the A site around E-Box yesterday, so definitely a player to watch out for. Config with a P250 headshot, but more importantly, he's taken the weapon away. I think it's just out of arm's reach, so he's not going to get this one. Meanwhile, the Tech-9 comes good for MSL, and it would appear that Dignitas are now going to return the favor onto Ence. 2-on-2, bomb is still ticking down ever so quickly. Yuho comes in, very nearly shoots his teammates, going to be holding on to the site. 4 seconds, 3 seconds, he has to come off this one. The first kill comes down, but the strength in numbers and Dignitas somehow take the round, so back-to-back upsets.
Wow, that was pretty nice. I mean, the fact that they got inner is one thing, right? You're allowed to get the bomb down sometimes on the ecos, and Ents know this, and they're like, okay, we can perform the retake because that's pretty simple. We've done it versus rifles. We know how to win these rounds. But instead, they sent Kirby first, run down ladder out of that off of those smokes outside. So it was a pretty elaborate fake, right? Because they committed one person into Z, and if Alu didn't hit that no scope, that honestly would have been another round a lot sooner than it was. But sending Config down ladder late after that to flank Z meant that they had absolutely no idea that anyone was going to come in and challenge them.
Here's Alu's opening picks in round number 3. Started Ence off well, but the last couple of minutes has been fairly shaky. And the match has been paused. I'm not entirely sure if this is tactical or technical this time around. It could be either or, to be fair. They'll be feeling like their economy is shaken as their CT side has been as well. Yeah.
Now again, going tit for tat, right, favors the terrorists on this map. It's a map that, like, you're having, the more money you have, the bigger advantage you have to win the round. The same can be said for all maps, but the advantage is so greatly increased on Train, where you can have 2 ops and an auto sniper. That's something that you might not want to have on, like, an Inferno, for example. So there's a limit to how much equipment value that you want to have. And so as a CT, when you go round for round like that, it's not so great. Ents, on the other hand, Ents have just lost, and we actually see Alu smiling after that round, even though it was kind of a rough one.
Look at Alu's score, he's 17 for 2.
Holy,
that is ridiculous. He's just started AWPing again as well. Stonder's normally the AWP for Ents. That is unbelievable performance after 9 rounds. God, Alu, I think it's safe to say.
Alu's the type of player that, on the days that he doesn't do well, those are the days off, right? I mean, for some players, it's like, wow, this guy's doing well for once. But for Alu, it's when he's doing bad that's weird. So the fact that he's back on form, I guess, is not such a surprise to us.
But the worrying thing is, he's 17 for 2, and his team still aren't out in a massive lead. They're still pretty close, so we need someone else to step up here. Dignitas eventually will start to punish this. You can't have 1v5.
No, you can't. And to be honest, on the CT side, like, if you're carrying, it's really easy to deal with, right? You just simply avoid that site. You're not going to catch Alu stacking inner all of a sudden just because he has the most kills, right? That's not how teams work. But for Dignitas, on the T side, they can decide to go inner more often than not, throw a couple smokes outside, make sure Alu doesn't move too much, and then have a much better chance versus a player who might be negative in KD, right? They just need to pick on whoever is weak and avoid whoever is strong.
That's a very good point, and there's only a certain amount of places that Alu can be. He can't teleport around the map, of course. Here we go. We are finally back into the action. 2 Tech-9s in hand for Dignitas, with Ence having the AWP and M4s accompanying it. So, again, both sides are going to be fairly sketchy in terms of economy. This round means everything. Tensky with a very aggressive push-up. T-Main gets the drop onto Alu. So the star player is dead and buried so far. Here comes Nasu. He needed to do better from that position. He was in the right place at the right time, but the bullets landed in his head, and just like that, Ence have conceded this round more than likely. With the economy being shaky, they may just try and save these 2 M4s. There's surely no hope of getting this retake.
I really love how Dignitas are tackling these executes. They're almost never simply 5-manning something, whether it's outside or inside. Actually, you know what? They failed 2 rounds outside, and those were both rounds where they decided to not throw anything in it, right? And because all the attention was focused on outside, Ence dealt with it well. Now, on that inner take, they sent someone running down hell, and here they are shutting down the exits, which is really important.
Yeah.
It's going to be a save next round for Ence. They're going to have almost no incentive to buy. Sunny coming away with this gun might only make that decision harder.
So we were discussing before about Nasu and how he'd fit in. He had a couple of blistering performances, but a couple of lackluster ones as well. There's been a couple of times now where he probably should have got at least 1 or 2 kills in positions. They all rush down ramp. A couple of Tech-9s take point. They're expecting at least 1 kill.
Yeah.
He gets killed without taking anyone down. And
Actually,
therein lays the issue.
Yeah, his position on Pop Dog is specifically designed to catch people coming down lower ramp because you can see their feet before they can see yours, and you put yourself at risk of someone coming across upper. So for you to be there and then fail on someone coming down ramp is kind of unforgivable in that sense.
And into a force buy, so CZ's in a 5-7 with the saved up AK in play, and as a result of this lack of weaponry and lack of grenades, they go aggressively up in halls and config. Very passive position, but just calling this one completely. That's a very smart play. He could be good for a third, finally goes down, but it's just Sunny's AK that remains intact for Ence. Now going to be stacking on the A side, still a lot of time to play with. Whoa, okay.
Okay.
Not sure what's happening there, but fair enough. I think we're stuck in an infinite replay loop.
We're in the glitch.
We've gone into the Matrix.
Oh my gosh.
Here we go.
Insane spray down by config. There we go.
I think we're back. I think we're back. I hope.
So not too much has changed.
Yep. No kills have gone down since the last few moments. But again, it's dire situation for Ence. They're still stacked on A, and it would appear that Dignitas are starting to call this one as they look to move themselves on B. Aggressive players could be coming up from Ence. You got Claire around ladder. Nasu's just watching outside of team main. It's Alu's CZ that rings out. That's going to be Kirby falling. And this now gives the Finns a real glimmer of hope. There's a crossfire down onto team main, which is where Nasu is still residing. He's going to spin his aim across. He's done a lot of damage to the player who comes out of ladder. But it's going to be Rubino who gets a double. And now it leaves Sunny, who started off the round with the only primary weapon, who will be coming full circle with his AK. Onto the site go Dignitas. MSL with the bomb, very low health, just 20 remaining. Rubino has already got 2 kills, couple flashbangs, and the bomb now planted. It's such a rough site to retake. There's so many positions that could see Dig, and this is so smart from Sunny. He's going to try and wait for the second player to show himself. You could see what he was trying to do. It's just very unfortunate, and Dig will convert the round.
That was definitely the play. That was definitely the play to kind of lay low and watch, and you know, Rubino had the awareness to come out and peek in case the big flank, the lowest % chance that, or the one choke point where it's the least likely to see somebody could come out of, and Rubino catching that was really big on him, but waiting to find that second person was very smart. Train is so hard once the bomb is down and everyone's hiding to actually find those 2 people, so getting that info and using it wisely.
There's just so many positions that you have to cover and try and clear. And
you just can't get to them, right?
Yeah.
You can see them, but if someone hides, there's no way.
Very time consuming and easy to put down crossfires from the T's perspective and that. So you can see what he was going for. Unlucky. But we do move through into the 11th round, and it all even. That being said, it's anything but even when you look at the arsenal that both teams have. AKs face off against pistols. Just the one Kevlar on Sunny. As a result of him saving a couple rounds ago, he still had a bit of money to play with, so he's going to buy to equalize the economy. And best case scenario here for Ence is if Dignitas make a massive error in judgment and just gift wrapped a couple of weapons across. I mean, that's really one of the only ways that they can win this round.
Some people wonder why people use utility like that, where we just saw a smoke on the left side and a molly on the right side. Well, it's because you spend $700 in resources to try to bait out more than 1,000 from the CTs. You know, an overreaction is what you're trying to cause. And the other thing that you get is info. Are people playing here? Are they trying to spam through the smokes in case people are going to be rushing up? Are they saving, meaning that there's no one playing here? And so they kind of have that info now. And what is this? Walking peek across upper. That would have been so powerful.
Just moonwalking their way to the side. Dignitas going to be fully on top of this. Bomb will go down from MSL. Round will slip away from Ence. They do have a Deagle, P250, CZ. I mean, it's not a massive amount of equipment value, but it may be worth just sending in, you know, the P2000s and the USPs, I should say, and sacrifice those, keep the rest, see if we can get some exit frags. But Rubino going to be mowing down as expected. Here come the CTs charging in, but it should be into the blender as MSL gets himself 2, padding his stats. Alu with the headshot onto Rubino. The Ence will find themselves definitely in a disadvantaged position. MSL's going to shut down one of the remaining Finns, and that leaves Sunny, who will be saving this AK. Makes a lot of sense. He has the Kevlar alongside it. Alu's moved to 19 for 5, so he's been a bit quiet in the last few rounds, but still a respectable scoreline.
No, we see a lot of attention being given to Inner, right? And that's just good on Dignitas. Because again, as we mentioned, Alu can't be in 2 places at once, and he can try to make presence in multiple spots as, you know, a good opera should, but ultimately, you have so much mobility and so much usefulness outside that if you're just on the back of a train by Ivy, you can watch Ivy, you can watch T-Con, you can watch Ladder, so you have very incentive to actually move to the other site if it's not the case that you think an execute's coming. Now the thing is, they could leave Alu solo Inner and instead stack 4 of the kind of weaker fraggers right now outside, but that's a risk that they'd have to take. And here we have a lot of pressure coming down on Inner, and it seems like Nasu's got a little bit of help here from Alu, yeah.
Tensky's already been punished pretty hard though, down to 39, and they're going to be walking single column. Alu with 1, misses the second shot, but at least it's information gathered. They know this is a full-on B execute. Nasu's good for 1 kill, gets flashbanged. Very likely would have taken the second player down as well, so that Flash the MVP maybe in this round, or perhaps not, as Ence are coming back with kills of their own. Next up is Sunny with his saved AK from the previous round. Going to be banking that grenade off the wall, finishes off with a beautiful spray down, and Ence will take the round after defusing the bomb. So solid defense, big kills from Alu at the start, and vital information.
If MSL saw that his flashes upper don't blind the guy coming out of Z, he's going to change those flashes, that's for sure. All right, those are a couple of flashes that he throws 2 of them, they're set. That means they have to cover a certain amount of territory for them to have usefulness. And I mean, that means flashing everyone on the site, yes, but that also means trying to flash rotators if possible. And Alu basically got a free op shot. Now, making that 5v4 as soon as it does, you know, in a site where you can have a 5v5 retake is a huge advantage going into it. So the utility, I think, was the key point there.
Yeah, utility always plays such a massive part on retakes as well. This time it's going to be Ence who are in the driver's seat in terms of economy and in terms of weaponry with that AWP in Alu's hands. No AWP on Dignitas, so they haven't really been too interested in using that. They don't necessarily have a star AWPer, in fairness. It's typically MSL who will be flirting with the idea of picking that up. So yeah, it's not completely against the realms of possibility that we won't see a great deal of AWPs in this best of 3, to be fair from Dig.
You know, when I'm if I play with like players who are a little bit more slow or meticulous, I actually just don't like having it off on T side of train, because if I want to do an execute, sometimes the off is just being a hindrance, right?
True. Yep.
You know, it's in the back. Sometimes it can't have impact. You're spending a lot of money. Maybe you want to have 3 riflers getting in the face of people as opposed to, you know, 2 riflers and an op just posted on something holding for a kill. If you can make his usefulness matter, then yeah, but you actually don't need it if you have proper executes.
Similar to Inferno as well, I feel that's definitely the case for Inferno. There's not that many opportunities, although RIP Inferno.
Yeah,
you know,
although RIP Inferno.
Welcome back, Nuke, RIP Inferno.
But that's definitely true.
Smokes and flashes, mollies as well. Going to be forcing CTs to relocate, but it's Sunny again, who was such a beast yesterday in similar positions with 3 kills. And it's not even an eco bash, it's full AKs in for Dignitas. Great performance from Sunny with 3. And then there's a team kill, because why the hell not, Alu? Showing that he can land the shots,
He's still got
even
it.
if it's on his
Get the
teammates.
kills. Yeah.
It's all good.
Impact is impact.
Yeah, it doesn't matter which team it's on, apparently. This will get a bit sketchy, though, for Ence. If Config can punish a couple of players, you know, then we start to get into the economic downturn. So, you know, we're having a laugh and joke around here, but this really could hurt Ence if they're not too careful about it. And Config playing super patiently, just waiting outside of the ladder. Doesn't even get himself a kill.
Only a few seconds remaining, so he's actually just going to be able to save this AK. Doesn't want to die after time. Won't be at risk of that either. And now I think we have Ence moving into a 7th round win to the 6th of Dignitas. And that's a good sign for Dignitas, right? Doing extremely well. A lot of the rounds they've won, they've only had 1 eco on the part of Ence where they were able to just farm. Apart from that, they just had very solid rounds. A couple of failed outer takes, that one included. That's, I think, 3 total, and have at least 3 inner takes that have worked extremely well. Partly due to elaborate fakes that they throw that I think they should consider revisiting, because those work so well. Like simply throwing 2 smokes outside and having someone run down hell and just make presence, make it seem like there's 2 or 3 people outside, buys a lot of time for the inner guys to isolate whoever is lower. Like Alu on that round was a Z rotator. If he saw smokes outside, he's going back through Z, and they execute, and they can get out before he gets back.
Absolutely, but it falls to Sunny now to try and fend off this push, and he has been stepping up things massively. Now falls to 15 and 7. Expected him to get at least a kill out of that trade. He said a lot, as you hope. A 1-for-1 trade is good for him. That leaves Alu and Nasu with it all to do. Bomb has been dropped. As Alu takes out Config, now Kiabi, and he can't get it done either. Alu goes on his 20 bomb now. So originally we were saying, oh, Alu's 17 for 2, he's playing like a god, but no one else is with him. And now Sunny is starting to get himself through the gears, and that's going to be a great sign for Ence and not so great for Dignitas. But all things considered on the T side, they've already got a fairly decent amount of rounds.
I think from Dignitas' perspective, they say, you know, we win most of the time inner, right? But when Alu's the fast rotate inner and they stack it, then we have to find a way to get him back outside. So, you know, sometimes we still have to go outside to keep him honest. You're not going to get away with going to the same site over and over again. But in my opinion, if you really know what site you want to pick on, it's just a matter of making the other team seem like you're going to test them on the other side because it's natural to do it.
Right, that's where fakes come in.
Right.
That's where you're trying to play that mental game of chess across the board. A lot of damage has been inflicted onto Dignitas, who were just in pistols, of course. It's the last round of the half to go for the full-on buy. Does include a lot of utility, though, including a couple mollies, plenty of smokes, flashes. But Ence have looked rock solid in these kind of rounds so far. It's been mainly B when the Tech-9 rush comes in and Nasu's missed his opportunities where Dignitas have got some fruits for their labor. But other than that, it's been a shutout performance. So let's see if they decide to wrap themselves around on B. Still plenty of time in this round.
Yep, they've already made their way up Ivy.
Yeah, but could this be the fake we're talking about? Because the bomb is now traversing through towards the whole side. In fact, it's going to come through team mains. It's going to be a wraparound and execute onto the A site. But the first 2 kills have gone down from Sunny. And Yuho coming as well. It's a great lockdown. They started it off convincingly. They finished the half off convincingly, 9-6. Ence will be happy with that. But all things considered, Dignitas win the pistol. They're right back into this.
Yeah, I think Dignitas were kind of their own worst enemy in that half because like all the rounds that they did win, they were basically securing B, and all the rounds they didn't win, they were failing outside. So I think they just simply didn't do what worked, maybe because they didn't want to do it too many times, but reinventing themselves maybe would have been a little bit better, and that could be what favors Ence on this map, right? Because maybe Dignitas aren't as comfortable to that level on this map yet, where they can say, all right, we know exactly the situation, right? We know exactly how to abuse one site when we have to do it 4 or 5 or 6 times in a row, as opposed to running, you know, your map book or your playbook, excuse me, running thin and then not having any ideas or ways to change it up.
A random Natu appears.
Hey, aren't you Nasu? Aren't you supposed to be playing right now?
Kappa. Natu. Just sat there, just chilling, watching his team perform. But so far, thumb up or thumb down, Natu? You happy with their performance so far? Oh, he's somewhere in the middle.
Somewhere in the middle.
He's not too sure.
Never happy, never happy.
There you can see.
It's the hand of a boss. This is the Godfather right there. Someone's getting killed after this game.
Don't make them an offer they can't refuse if Ence don't win this.
Want a dead horse in their bed.
Yeah, second pistol round coming up. Full USPs. Dignitas not going with any utility whatsoever. So we'll be battling and standing up, but it's going to be Alu who charges through. He'll be getting him the first kill onto MSL. The second one going to go the way of Rubino, who shuts down the bomb plant. And that is extremely rough as the cleanup comes in for Dignitas, so they get the first kill, and so then from there on it's complete collapse.
Yeah, you know, some teams don't give enough respect to upper, and when they take inner on a fast hit, some people are pushed up upper. Well, on that round, they did actually have someone go, and he just lost his duel. But the thing is, you have to neutralize the guy upper if he's there. It's akin to the position of on Mirage. If someone's playing in Palace, and you have a CT in Palace, everyone comes up A ramp, and it's totally fine, right? This Palace guy is going to kill 2 people in the back. He's going to be able to have safety. So I don't think they anticipated someone being there, but even when they tested him, they didn't have anyone there to trade in case he lost. And that was critical. Rubino took advantage of it.
Avenging kills, of course, so important in Counter-Strike. Pistol rounds especially, because you've only got a limited amount of weaponry at your disposal anyway. But here we go. There are 2 SMGs. Interesting to see the difference in style between Dignitas and Ence. Ence went for 3 SMGs, I believe, 3 UMPs in this similar position and a FAMAS. So going for a lot more commitment and firepower in the A4s. MP9, very close quarters, can be a monster to contend with, but so far, Ence are playing more at an arm's length and saying, come at us, bros. They're not too interested and aggressive just yet. Well, I say that as Config looks up and takes down Sunny. That's going to be a rough ask now as the bomb has also been dropped. Config will be looking towards T main, spots a player, but it's going to be Alu who actually comes out all guns blazing with that Tech-9. Meanwhile, Nasu had an opportunity to land the one-tap, doesn't get it. He's going to be chasing for this kill instead, but that's going to be to the grave as Config with his 3rd kill. I think he ends that round with 4. Complete shutout performance from him. You're expecting it, is an eco overall. Not too many guns put into that.
But
still.
it still matters because we saw in the first half, for example, 2 ecos go the way of the other team, and even though it's a 4K on an eco, it's 400 damage. That is maybe not as pure as 400 damage versus armor with a player who has an M4 or an AK, but it could matter if you look back on that round and see like Config dies off the first kill and suddenly it's converted. So there is something to be said about that for sure.
Actually, excuse me, it wasn't an eco. They went for the force. They actually committed into that round, Ence. I thought they got the
they
first
might have
bomb
just not had
plant,
head
but
armor.
they didn't. Yeah, exactly. So this is going to be a full-on eco. They got pretty much just Glocks, and should be easy farm, easy round for Dignitas. They do lose 2 players though, which could start to cripple them if we go forward and this continues to be the case. But for now, we are going to be at all equality at 9 apiece.
Yeah, it's a Glocks as well, so those are a couple of very strong frags.
Yeah. So 9-9, we are going to have the first proper buy from Ence with AKs, a lot of grenades behind it as well. Got Alu and Sunny both on 20+ kills. But the thing for Alu is, because he's such a stationary AWPer, I'm not sure if he's going to get the same level of success on the T side with the AWP as he did on the CT side. It's a lot harder to make those kills in that sense.
Fallen's... actually, let's see what happens here, because Ivy Control is being taken really quickly.
That grenade I thought would do a lot more damage, but it did knock down Nasu to 67. Looks like they're not going to pull the trigger just yet, and so they're playing this one a bit slowly, but here we go. They're going to be taking the point, and the kills come down. Nasu with 2 massive entries. Headshots aplenty, and a third as well. He had a very quiet first half, but stepping up massively. And on 1 HP, could he have just single-handedly won this round for the Finns? It looks very likely. MSL and Rubino, all that remained. MSL with 2 kills. The bomb was planted just before Zato went down. 2-on-2 now. And now this gets a little bit sketchy because of Nasu being on 1 HP, but he's landed another one. He's on for the ace. Rubino's going to be peering him with the AWP. He's not the best AWPer in the world. This is going to be a rough ask. This next kill is absolutely vital. This could be pivotal. And Rubino's eating damage. He's gone down from Yuho, so Nasu take a bow. That was a ridiculous round.
What was that spray? He actually got both of those headshots coming out of Ivy. That's unbelievable. Disgusting play from him. 4K entry. Wow.
So screw this. I'm going to go in first. Just wreck everyone.
Yeah.
Why not?
I was going to say, I did an interview with Guardian, and I don't know if we got a eco or it looks like a tattered buy here.
Yeah.
Where so much blood has been spilled. We actually have 2 players who have only a $500 pistol as opposed to maybe a rifle that they want.
That smoke. Super aggressive play from Dignitas, and they are going to reap the rewards. Nasu, the god from last round. CZ play from Rubino's good for 2 kills. Oh, this is the problem for Ence. They need to get some traction. The M4 frag comes in for Config, and the last one from MSL. Dignitas not only win the round, but they win it flawlessly. They don't lose a single player in the process.
And that's when both teams are hurting, right? You can see that they didn't have the buys they wanted. Both teams were lacking a rifle on that round, and for 5 kills to come up with no answers. This 2K from Rubino, oh my gosh. Making that thing look broken once again.
Disgusting.
Nice play. That's great.
Look at Ence's buy here. Scout, Eagles, mixed bag of weaponry.
Such
really.
a pivotal round, right? Because if somehow Dignitas don't win that, then we see Ence who have the free 2-for-1. Suddenly a lead gets taken.
Especially on the CT side with that economy so much more vulnerable as well.
Yeah.
Dignitas likely will be struggling for the rest of this map potentially. So a massive round goes the way of Dig. And already Sunny's 8 significant damage, so that's going to put a halter to his 1 Dig potential.
So it was Guardian who said, we talk about how Alu's a stationary AWPer, right?
Yep.
He looks, he doesn't move very much. Guardian, I think, Fallen are players who kind of think of the same way. Even though Fallen puts himself in more aggressive positions, he doesn't move in those aggressive positions. He just knows how to get the kill and when he's in a tough spot. But when I did an interview with Guardian, he said that he doesn't believe he's a passive AWPer. He said there are simply good AWPers and bad AWPers, and that a good AWPer knows when to be passive and knows when to be aggressive. And a bad AWPer is maybe just all the time aggressive, maybe all the time passive. So he kind of dispelled that myth a little bit. And I think, if Alu's going to have impact on the T side, he kind of has to be a little more dynamic as well.
Well, that's kind of where my point comes from, because obviously up until recently it was Stonda who was AWPing. So how is he going to fit in? Is he going to be confident enough with the AWP? As we've been talking, as expected, Ence are just wiltering away in this round with very poor weapons. There we go, final nail's been put in the coffin for this round at least. But yeah, I am curious if they're going to go for the AWP on Alu, and then how does he approach with it? Is he going to play the super aggressiveness and maybe get himself caught out in position?
Yeah. And now Sonde is the AWPer because he is very explosive, right? So he probably fills that role to a T on T side and maybe you know, Alu's used to it, but doesn't do it quite in the same way that's so effective that we see in CSGO, a very aggressive T-side opper. It almost always pays off if you hit your shots.
So Eco here for Ence, they did go for the force last round. A couple players around 3 to 4K, so they will have the option for the AWP next in round 23 if they so choose, which I'll be very interested to see. Or do they want to run as more of a Dignitas composition where it's just full AKs and a set play thrown in the mix? Standard setup for Dig, 3-2 formation. 2 players on B, one of which is Rubino. Passive positions as well, realizing that Ence likely don't have a lot of weapons to play with. And this should just be a spray down now. Rubino with the first, MSL with the second. He's going to be cleaning up nicely on B, but the bomb does actually get planted. So really, I think the mission that Ence set for themselves has been completed, because they wouldn't have expected anything else from that round.
Yeah, definitely. They really wanted that plan. It makes a world of difference moving into the next round. But again, that was you know, that was such a crazy round to lose, where they baited out the force to follow it and then got the full save where a plant was had. And ultimately, that's 2 free rounds. It's really nice.
So here we go. I want to see. We do have an AWP. Alu's going to pick it up. And as a result of the bomb plant and the patience in the previous round, he is going to have some grenades and full Kevlar behind it. So he is good to go. The question is he good to get kills? And so far, it's more of a passive start from Ence. Alu's actually be watching down box halls, hoping that someone goes for the peak. MSL is there. But he's playing it passively for now, which is so important. If he peeks out, he will end up, you have to assume, on the receiving end of a battery.
You can see he's actually waiting for a flash or a lower ramp, so put it up against the wall. It's not holding like a crazy angle, and it's kind of unknown whether or not Alu will get flashed, or if the flash will go too low and it's just meant to kill people close up. But Alu recedes off the position.
Suggests that they want to put their power elsewhere on the map.
Yeah.
Maybe try and burst through onto Team Main, where a player is actually waiting for them. So can they get the opening pick? Can they start to get themselves through? They started this map so well, finishing the half at 9-6. Now Dignitas in the driver's seat. This is another big round. It's another pivotal one for both teams. Config. Going to be waiting out still, just outside of Team Main. Finally spots his man and will take down Yuho. Second player going to be coming through ladder. Molotov stops him dead in his tracks for now. He's not able to push up. There's the second one as well. So Sonny just has to sit here and wait. The time is going to start to get low. MSL from behind. He could very well go for the knife. Instead, he goes for the behind headshot. And just like that, Ence in all sorts of trouble. Zate with a pretty swift headshot onto Rubino. They've got to get the bomb towards the site. Time is ticking down ever so quickly. Alu and Zate both very low as well, 12 HP apiece. Tensky up in heaven is ready to pounce. First kill and a second as well. Very patient play proves to be the determining factor. Is now it's all Alu who's going to try and back away and save the AWP. Another round goes to Dignitas.
You know, everybody is a huge proponent of getting a first kill on T side before going for an execute, and we saw there that Ence had to push their way out of into outer without having Ivy control, without really clearing out white halls or clearing out upper B, which that would have been a free frag for them, or a trade or some information. And because they went 5v5 execute, that's when it is still CT-sided, right? Even in a 4v4 situation, you could put the argument out that it's actually T-sided, because the CTs being spread thin is more valuable than, or more valuable to Terrace than it is to the CTs if the Ts are short one. But I think they went for like their pick too passively. Like Alu was like posted up on white halls from way far back, and that was their play. Like, let's see if Alu gets a kill, and if not, we go 5v5 or we go into a 5v5 execute. But instead, we're kind of doing the same thing where he's not making enough presence or getting close enough to actually try to get a kill first.
Now we saw Alu with an AWP on the CT side make crazy things happen, but again, it's so much more difficult from his play style to make that a case here, and the fact that the rest of his team are being battered down. In fact, he is now the last remaining player to come through the ladder right into the AK-47, lands the first shot, 3 more players to find a frag, nearly switches across to Kirby, but he will be going down, and now Dignitas have a 4-round lead, and not looking too good for Ence.
The other scary thing is they aren't testing inner, and even when they go outside, there are still 2 people from Dignitas posted up on the other side of the map. So that means that outside is relatively weak, and so Ence are picking the right spot to go to, even though it is 5v5, and still failing.
So I think Alu finished the first half on 21 frags. He's on 26 now, so you can see how much he struggled when the tables have been turned. Same with Sonny, hasn't had anywhere near the same impact. But there's Yuho. Maybe he can be the player to drag his team towards a second map. Great opening pick, lost minimal damage in the process alongside Nasu. Config shifting up again. He's so unpredictable, so difficult to read, but Ali just peeks out, takes him out. Yuho's also been traded off from Tensky, leaving us in a 3-on-3, 3-on-2 now. Nasu comes in. These are big, powerful impact kills from Ence. But still, MSL and Rubino are on the battlefield. Making just Rubino misses his shot. That could cost him his life, and indeed it will. So Ence, they're not done with Train just yet. They're holding on.
They do make presence at Ivy. Ensa gets Nasu gets his kills. He ends up getting 3 headshots on the round, and it looked like very patient, like controlled shooting, and that's a good sign from him that, you know, you can tell he's very comfortable. But they you know, that's a round where Yuho gets that kill through a smoke, right? And they make it 5v4 that way, but they can't rely on that every round. And we saw the issue was when they went into a 5v5 execute, they puttered to a halt very quickly. So they need to take that round and be like, yeah, that's great that we got that, but we need to find a new way to open it up.
And this is what I was fearing a little bit. I kind of discussed this when we did our predictions, that they won Train 16-6, but we really didn't see too much of what Ence had to offer on the T side.
Yep.
So far, they've only won 2 rounds on their T side, and there has been some pretty glaring gaps in the strat. So
definitely, they're relying heavily on getting like a 12-3 CT, right?
Yeah. But it just isn't really that viable against a team like Dignitas, because even when they're down, they're not quite out. And if they can grind out the rounds, then they're good to go. There were a couple of key moments in that first half where Ence could have pulled away. They were, I think, 5-2 in the lead at one point, and then suddenly back to a 5-5. But focusing on the present, they've lost a player. The in-game leader is dead and buried. Zartet, 6 foot under. Dignitas have all 5 players still alive. Although they've chunked through a fair amount of their utility, there is 5 flashbangs remaining. Ence looking for a set play onto B. Here come the smokes and the flashes. That flash lands dead in the face of MSL. So it's going to be down to Rubino to fend off this push for now. He's doing a pretty admirable job. Hasn't gone down and done a lot of damage himself. If Config just opens up through the smoke, there could be 3 players for him to find and frag, but instead he decides to relocate, playing it smart, and the rest of the CTs come on in. Should be an easy round from this point for Dignitas, and it is on Nasu and Sunny. They do have the bomb, and they've managed to get themselves onto the A side. But whereas the retake is normally a nightmare for the CTs, if you have a 4v2 retake, it's a whole lot more doable.
Both players responsible for 2 kills at this point, and someone has to keep line of sight on the bomb. And here's the first player to take a fight. That's Sunny, gets the kill. Now it's 2v3.
Oh, if Nasu plays this correctly, it should be all his. The bomb is getting defused, though. It's going to be very, very close, and Config comes off the defuse to pick up the kill instead. Meanwhile, Sunny's going to be throwing up the Molotov. That's going to keep Config off it. In fact, he's actually going to go for the defuse to start off with. Takes a lot of damage. Finally comes off the bomb, lands the shot, and will be able to defuse this one with the kit. So Dignitas made it very sloppy, but they got there just about. 15-11.
You know, quite incredible that Ence were able to bring it that close. You know, they got the perfect after plan positions. You know, it was a 2v4 situation. The best thing they could hope for is they both get to a 2-kill spot, right? One got to Ivy, which is a great spot to be in, and then one got to T-Con, which is a spot you wouldn't expect a flank to come out of, especially since they just rotated from inner and everybody they know didn't go through ladder. So they tried their hardest, and they did make it competitive in that moment, but ultimately it's a real scramble once you get the bomb down. You know, you got to make a bunch of reads, you got to communicate in that 2v2, and if the comms are obstreperous, it's tough.
You can see what Yuho was going for. He did this a lot yesterday as well, just super aggressive plays out of team main. Will be shut down this time. And a bit of a desperation charge from Ence, who have to go for the full-on buy, as it could potentially be the last round. It's all on Alu. He's going to get the drop on one player, shifts around, gets picked off, and MSL will put Dignitas at a 1-0 lead as they take Train 16-11. It was looking like it could go the complete opposite way for a few moments there, but fair play to Dignitas, they held on.
Yeah, fantastic map win for them. They displayed their finesse on both T and CT side, whereas Ence we saw fell short a little bit on their T side after having a very decent, respectable first half. You know, 9-6 on Train is not so bad, but it ultimately wasn't enough, and Dignitas coming with the second pistol was maybe the nail in the coffin for them. So, well played.
Very well played indeed. Now we'll be shifting across to Mirage, obviously the last map, but next up is Cobblestone, and that is, well, very happy times for Dignitas. They typically do very well on Cobblestone. They have been shaky over the last couple of months, it's safe to say. A heavy loss against SK, which I believe you were casting, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was 16-3.
16-3, yeah.
At Sivo, when Dignitas bowed out fairly early. But anyway, we're going to cut to the break right now. When we get back, we'll be ready to jump into Cobblestone and see if Ence can take us into the third map.
to Boston. Lives in a world she's lost in, victim of compromise. He's staring at her Aberdeen heart, London eyes, Glasgow bones. She's whistling the catacombs, a paradox. He's in love with the statue in the marble block. He's in love with the girl that time forgot. She just sheds her ears. She's falling too far with something else scars. Won't let it taste her tears. She's falling too far. The girl that time forgot. Wasted moments for our potential at torments. An angel in disguise, but he can see our Aberdeen heart, London eyes, Glasgow bones. She's a whistle in the catacombs, a paradox. Oh, he's in love with the statue in the marble block. He's
has been Bomb has been planted. 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 Bomb has been. Bomb has been. Bomb has been. Bomb.
All right, so we're going to be jumping into the second map very shortly, which is going to be Cobblestone. The first map went 16-11 in the end after a pretty rocky start from Dignitas. But in fairness to them, they did pick it back up again and took us home to a fairly convincing victory overall. The CT side was great from Ence, the T side anything but, and Cobblestone, a map that Dignitas are very, very powerful on. So I'm a little bit worried for the Finns now.
Yeah, they're kind of meeting the criteria that I kind of threw out there for the 2-0 to be a possibility, right? I mean, there was always the chance that Ence would beat Train, but it felt like, I think to both of us after watching yesterday, yeah, Ence did have a good Train, but it was really relying on a very good CT side, right? That was a check mark off the list, having 9-6. It is only a decent CT side, and then not even knowing if they have a really comfortable T side, and then having Nasu on top of that makes it a lot more difficult. And then moving into this map, 16-11, and then getting only 5 rounds on T side. Not too bad, but you know, it's 5 rounds off of a win, so ultimately that could be a huge thing. One of those round-defining rounds was like 11-11, right? And there was that that big like 3-for-1 round basically.
Yeah.
And sometimes it does come down to that, but ultimately I think they needed this map to win.
I agree. I completely agree. I think this was the map that Ence needed to pick up because Cobblestone is such a powerhouse for Dignitas. Alu and Sunny on the first half were absolute on point.
Yeah.
You know, Alu dropped over 20 kills. Sunny started slow but really picked it up on A as they started to push more onto A side. And for Cobblestone, I don't see them having the same level of impact, especially considering that Alu has been playing Assault Rifle on that map in recent memory, hasn't been using the AWP, and as Stonda, of course, has been. So for me, that's another big weakness that is going to have to be filled in very quickly for Ence. And you expect Dignitas, being such a seasoned veteran team when it comes to Cobblestone in recent memory, taking a lot of big teams like Fnatic, for example, to their limits on Cobble, that they should be okay on this one.
Yeah, they're prestigious, man. When I was looking through demos to figure out Cobble, because it's a map that I struggled to call on, I was looking at Dignitas. I watched all of their stuff, and I just studied them completely because their B takes are amazing. Like, they have just everything figured out perfectly. Now, one of the things I want to watch out for in this game is when they have one of their B takes where it's kind of set where they wait for the smoke to come down. When players come out to B, they throw the smoke off the box, the standard one. Rubino pushes through it, and he just waits out in the corner of the smoke. And then they have everyone execute while Rubino makes sure that he has line of sight on the boxes so no one can be boosted up. And that's really critical because that's the only way that you can make a presence at the end of B and kind of shove something in the way of a full-on execute when it's through a smoke. So he goes out there, he takes like 50 damage sometimes, right? 50, sometimes he dies, sometimes he gets a frag that allows the execute to occur faster. But it's really important that he gets that information. That's a huge reason why their B takes are so strong.
And another reason why Rubino is such an adhesive element to Dignitas, that he may not be the flair player who's dropping the massive kills and the 2v1s, the 3v1s, although he is very good at clutching as well. It's the fact that he does go out and do this. He does go get the information at the cost of his life, and even if he's not getting kills, right, it keeps the enemy caught in two minds. They're like, well, we have to respect the fact that Rubino could be pushing B again, and therefore we have to keep a player or two there in the place. But here we go. We are going to be jumping into the second map of Cobblestone. Or not just yet. It seems that both teams aren't just ready. Not sure what the issue is. Looks like they're just readying up. So it'll be good to jump in very shortly indeed. But yeah, you feel like that 2-0 prediction is looking pretty good right now.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it is. The only time, I mean, Dignitas sometimes will lose a map, and actually they're not at their hottest point right now, so there's always the option for a team to upset them. But for it to be on their map pick in a situation where maybe Dignitas are very fully aware that they can gank and place it on Cobble, that they aren't untouchable, and have that realization, should be in full form, especially versus a team they shouldn't lose against. And yeah, I think it just is really, really a big hill to climb for Ence, who this isn't even really one of their home maps.
So I've been informed that one of the Dignitas players has DC'd, so hopefully we'll be good to jump in as soon as he reconnects. The other thing as well, you know, one of the things I was throwing out there in the prediction as to why I thought Dignitas may end up losing this best of three is that they did lose so heavily against SK, but it's important to put that into context. SK are a solid Cobblestone team themselves. It's one of their favorite maps. So you can only take certain amounts from that. Ence Cobblestone probably not, especially with Stonda not being in the lineup in this event. Probably not one of their stronger maps that you're expecting them to perform fantastically on. So there's a lot up in the air right now.
Yeah.
Just waiting for Dignitas to get fully connected before we jump in.
We try not to base too much of analysis on the fact that they do have a sub, but it doesn't matter, right? As well as he plays or doesn't, it's kind of hard to quantify his value or Stonda's value, even if you were to get the same amount of kills in terms of what ability they had in terms of preparation to follow through with maybe executes that they need to do or special positions that he plays that he does the best, you know? So all those things matter. I'm sure they're having a great time with him. And he seems like and from what we know from what Pimp told us, that he's very easy to get along with. He had some calmness to the team. So there's a lot of positive benefits there as well.
But here we go. We're going to be live into the second map of Cobblestone. Dig against Ence. 16-11, the first map on Train. Third map will be Mirage if we need it, and the early damage should have been inflicted maybe from Nasu, but just did negligible damage to the config, just 10 HP actually. And there's Rubino bouncing back with the frags. Config's down to 3 in the meanwhile. But Dignitas have claimed themselves the first kill of this map. Let's see if they can continue putting the foot to the throat of Ence. Bit of utility still in play. Nasu has a smoke and a flashbang. Meanwhile, Rubino is continuing to be a real pain and damage. Double headshots. Beautiful work from him, and he's hungry for more. He's looking for a third. Zate will shut him down, but at great cost to the T's aggression. Onto the site. And now 4 plays 2. Yuho and Zata on B plat. And this is where the USP really does come into its own. Long range, the block just can't compete with the USP. And well, there we go. MSL is going to round it off nicely. Double headshots for him. And Dignitas will get themselves on the scoreboard.
Now we saw that a lot of that came down to simply hitting the shots, and here's Rubino with 2 quick USP shots. I think we missed the first of 2 there, but gets 3 kills in the round in total, and that was massive for them. Now, Ence were doing a similar pistol to what Dignitas sometimes do, and that's like put a lot of pressure on drop, and then put some pressure at long B, and then actually turn it into a connector split at A. We saw the bomb posturing for that as well, but here's some pressure putting on Tensky.
That MP9 nearly banging itself multiple frags, but a 1-for-1 trade actually will be good enough for Ence, I would say, especially as they've got the MP9 now in the hands of Yuhos on full HP with the Kevlar behind it. The full buy comes in from Ence, and Kirby is holding on for dear life as he's already been tagged down behind the truck. He goes. Nasu close range, puts down config, giving Ence the player advantage. Rubino's given his position away now, trying to tap through the middle doors. But Ence now actually turn tail and run across to the B site. They have the bomb going there. But Dignitas have called this Launders. They're already in hot pursuit.
Yeah, they've decided to stack B here. This is a total call out. They've heard some footsteps, but they don't know it's going to be B. They're just making a read here.
A very good read at that. There's still a lot of time to play with, so maybe Ence have a couple more mind games to play with their opposition. Or perhaps not. They're just going right out onto the site. Raw Kirby with a 1-for-1 trade. Rubino plays MP9 wielding Yuho. Not the best position to have this weapon. He may even think about switching across to the Tech 9 if he wants to start flirting with the idea of tapping long range, but instead relocating to the concrete. Spotting Rubino, who gets a couple more jabs in. Down to 34 goes Yuho. Close range, and he thought it would be the doors. Instead it was drop zone. And the overkill is real.
Yeah. I always trust Rubino when I watch him in a 1v1 to play it properly, and I was kind of surprised to see him forfeit that rock position when he had the cross to go back through drop, but it seemed to catch Yuho off guard, made him take a little bit extra damage, and then he just secured the frag. Ultimately came down to the call that Dignitas made to go and stack B, which was really nice, 2v3, off of the little information that they did have, but they totally read Ence, and I think when Ence realized that 2 people were dedicated in B, they made a huge mistake.
Yeah, they still had like 50 seconds left, so they could easily just backed on off again, but now it's up to Kirby. It's going to be Lambs to the slaughter, 3 kills, padding the stats, MP9 with the farm. And Rubino chimes in for the last kill, so good start from Dignitas. Complete role reversal from what we saw on Train, where it was Ence who started off with a 3-0.
Yeah, that's just makes it a lot worse, right? We did see pistols get traded in that, and that's why maybe the score was kind of as good as it was for Dignitas, but here we have Dignitas started up to a pistol on the CT side, which is arguably their worst side as well. Like, they're going to fall back on their T side and hope to get way more rounds than they do on CT, which is a really bad sign considering this pistol makes it a lot easier to get the 3-0 than it would if they had to win it on rifles.
Boost in from Kirby, buying from Ence as well, AK-47s. solid buy for Ence, especially considering there is still an MP9 in the hands of Kirby, and Rubino's been put down first. He's on the tree boost, Sunny as well. Important they start to get some entry frags going down. It's what they were sorely lacking on the T side of Train. And as I mentioned that, Nasu comes in with a headshot. We saw a crazy 4K for him on the T side of Train, just running through Ivy. He's gonna have to rinse and repeat from that form. MSL and Tensky both gonna be on the prowl towards the B side. MSL up on drop, Tensky through the window, but Nasu is waiting with embracing arms, leaving just Tensky in a 1v3. He has an incendiary, but no defuse kit. I don't think anyone would really be too concerned if he just backs away and saves this M4. Both teams will be fairly happy with this result.
No, it's a very sensible decision. It's just there's a very low chance of winning even a 1v2 on B side of Cobble. Like having Long B, having Chicken Coop, having the Rock and the site. That's just too many spots that you have to check, and it's way too easy to actually get that peek out and win the trade as a T if the bomb's down. Now, the thing is that Ence had a really nice round there, right? They worked their way into B side. They won the map control nice and early on. They got out, they got the after plant, they had the 3v3, and they only lost 2, or they didn't lose anyone. So they had kind of like all the boxes checked for a really well-played fundamental T-side round on Cobble.
Worrying thing for me though is if Ence fall into the same problem that we saw on Train and their T-side isn't up to par, this is, I would say, a T-sided map. So going through onto the CT side against Dignitas, you said you've been studying them a lot. They are brutal on their T-side. So it's even more important that Ence finish this, I would say around 10 rounds, honestly, they'll be looking for. Anything less than that and they're going to be up the creek without a paddle. But Yuho's got the first kill with his UMP, so it's looking good so far. Now down to a 2-1-4 in a blink of an eye, just MSL and Tensky again, almost a carbon copy of the last round. In similar positions as well, both coming through from the A side. And again, this is probably just going to be a call to save, I'd imagine. I mean, there's no real hope of pushing on to a 4v2. There's so many crossfires that could be put down, so many positions that you have to be wary of.
Yeah, this is MSL just needs to get out of here. Like, he doesn't want to die right now, and he's really close to this door for some reason. His teammate's definitely off saving, and he's letting someone pass. I mean, he could actually get in the site right now. Does he have a kit? He could go for the defuse.
Oh my god,
someone's watching Long B, but they pushed out of Long, and
no.
Is he gonna fall back? No. Oh, he gets the frag. Wow, that was so close. Ultimately, if that smoke goes down, you're unable to line it up. I mean, you have the statue as a reference point, but that got ugly.
Yeah, you could see Asata as well stayed around a little while longer, just making sure there wasn't a second player in the smoke defusing. But just for a second there, you thought, surely not.
That was quite the oversight from Dignitas there, right? Leaving Cobble really early on. I mean, they had 3 players focus their attention to Long B, and I think it's because of the attention that Ence drew from them last round, where they actually did commit at least 3 players there. And then the UP got down for free, came out and got a kill and saw 3 people's back. So there's so much info in the first kill that that allowed Ence to execute.
So now Dignitas biting the bullet with an eco of their own. Tensky with the saved M4. Gonna be the power play. He is gonna be on the B side. It's just gonna be MSL with his CZ, who's over on A for the time being. Alu up on the boost. Gonna be throwing in that grenade. It lands right in the face of Tensky. And that M4 is dead. So that's one of the power plays from Dig. And they should be crumbling as a result of this. No one has Kevlar. Even if they could get to that weapon, they still have to contend with aim punch, and Alu's not going to allow them to do that. He just spots a player darting across, and it stands to good reason. There's going to be a few more players on B now. Especially in pistols, you'll see a heavy stack on one side or the other, so I think that's just giving them a lot of information. But now the thing is, with 55 seconds, Ence can't take that as for granted. They have to still play smart in this round, not give any weapons away for free.
Every player is at least 5K here, so that's a really tough loss. They don't want to have to stomach that. I mean, they just have to group up, clear angles, and do it with enough time to be able to plant and have some casualties on the way.
35 seconds left. MSL is going to get the initial advantage onto Yuho from positionally, but of course his weapon is way worse. Alu close range finally puts down Kirby, although it was a bit of a laboured kill at that. And now Ence have 3 players who are fairly low. But Dignitas have no one left. 3-3. Ence do bounce back to bring us back to even. And here comes a buy now from the CTs.
Yeah, now there's going to be another buy. Obviously, that was a 2-for-1 because Ence really earned that save, right? They really worked their way into B, did it 2 different ways, and completely stomped Dignitas on those rifle rounds. So we're going to see how that works out again. Yuho has picked up the UMP with 6K in the bank. I mean, everyone's got a lot of money, and for some reason, he's not using an AK. I think this means that he's going to go drop, and he feels like this is actually a better weapon than an AK for drop. The only thing I can think is that you have more move speed with an SMG, but it's still kind of crazy, isn't it?
I think he's also called that Dignitas may have no head armor, and they don't. So that UMP is going to be even more devastating at close range. But as we've been speaking, Launders, suddenly there's only 4 players left, I should say, with 6 players dying. 2 apiece. That's too close range, takes out Config, and Rubino now has the arduous task of picking off a 1v2 with no utility whatsoever. So just an M4. Lack of head armor, though it doesn't really matter against the AKs. That UMP's been put down from Yuho. Bino switching across to the AK now, has a Molotov in his hands, but Sunny's playing this one so patiently and will be rewarded with a 4th round for Ence.
Wow. They did make that crazy really fast, and just staying so long, watching for that flank, and actually having someone go back and catch someone rotating was huge in that 2v2. So Ence looking extremely strong right now. I'm honestly surprised. Now I saw Rubino yesterday, I think he mentioned that their weakest side is sometimes on Cobble they have fantastic CT sides, sometimes they don't, and we're really seeing a lot of weakness for them. And all I can say is they got to be feeling really good that because of the fact that they got the pistol, because that's kind of bailing them out in a situation where Ence have won 3 rifle rounds versus them.
That's a really good point, actually. If they hadn't won the pistol, this could be an absolute nightmare for Dignitas in terms of a start, and it very well could go that way because the rifle rounds have been going the way of the Finns, and this is an eco, or at least a half buy from Dig. You have CZ and a Deagle now left with Kevlar. But Ence, again, playing it slow and steady. Bomb dropped out, salvageable position from Ence, don't want to give it away. Here comes the pop flash into the UMP spray.